there's a lot of stigma attached to people posting stuff on Instagram and Facebook depicting their perfect life, and their perfect life, what it looks like on social media, but it isn't. What's your impression on false statements and people being false and depicting false things on social media?
Well, as you say, false, it can be misleading to the general public. I personally believe that people should try and be as truthful as possible, but it can happen that people, I think sometimes a lot of people get it wrong. Like when you have an influencer or somebody trying to promote a brand, and then they think this is the person's lifestyle, and people just try and do the same thing when their lives are not like that. So it's a bit difficult. And from a boxing point of view, you want people to use social media. You want fighters, promoters, and managers to use social media as to publicize events and promote boxers, basically.
Yeah. Devin, a very important question, and I know you're very vocal. I mean, you just read your stuff on your platform, but often people with this false sense of whatever they're publishing or saying is you often catch people out. So someone will say this is going to happen, or I caught him with an uppercut, and you go back, because you go back to your archives and you say, that never happened, and you call those people out. Tell me, I'm not going to ask if you get a kick out of it. I mean, some of us find it funny, some of us think you go a little bit too deep, but how important is it when you publish something, because it is your statement, it is something you're doing, how important is it to actually tell the truth?
That is the most paramount.
In a sport that really is the red light district of sport, where a lot of people talk a lot of bullshit.
That's true, but the thing is that what a lot of people in South Africa don't realize is that the sport of boxing, the community is so small, but also the average Joe viewers who would watch boxing, that community is even smaller. Therefore, a lot of promoters, a lot of fighters, a lot of trainers can get away with saying things to make themselves look in a different light than what the actual reality of what they're putting out there is and what they're actually producing is. So for me, we all in the boxing family, we all want our sport to be number one again in South Africa like it used to be. But every time somebody is talking bullshit about what they've been putting out, what they've been producing, the fights that they've been putting on, the titles and the belts that are becoming newer and newer as the days go on, there is a new belt popping up every 2 weeks. You're trying to tell the public, we've got the world champion here. Oh, which one is he? WBF, IBO, WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO. Which one is it? So there's so much confusion and noise in the market as it is. And I know that a promoter only wants to sell his fight, sell his product the best way that he can. But boxing has a bunch of people who don't tend to do it with the best intentions at the end of the day, because obviously the business of it has always been around the world, lies, publicity, and hype sells fights. But I'm kind of tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you call it out, you call it out. Hayden, so we've spoken about, false impressions on social media. Let's talk about the benefits of social media. And I'm going to talk about a fighter who's doing exceptionally well with that kind of platform, Ryan Garcia. He's using social media to his benefit to gain more fans and gain more younger fans. What's your impression of that?
Yeah, obviously Ryan Garcia has tapped into a market in which isn't necessarily boxing, and he's bringing them into our sport, which I've always maintained is a fantastic thing. You're bringing people, and the thing about boxing is the casuals the purists will always be here. All of us will always be around, but it's not about us. It's about bringing the casuals into the sport and making it insanely for them, because We know that we'll always love boxing no matter what. It's not about us. It's about the people that don't love boxing. It's about bringing those people in, making them watch a fight. That's why Ryan Garcia is good for the sports. And I keep telling every single boxer after I interview them, don't worry too much about things. Say what you've got to say. The result is going to be what it's going to be. The result isn't going to change based on the fact that you've said that you're going to knock someone out, or you said you're going to whatever you said you're going to fight. It's irrelevant. People forget about that in 3 months' time, and that's what people have to remember. You're building up hype for a moment. You're not building it up. People are going to forget what you said 6 months ago. So that's what it is.
Sorry, that was just my daughter and wife trying to settle my baby boy. So let's talk about how destructive social media can be. So we've seen, you know, we got to talk about it. Gervonta Davis was at a basketball match, and there were there was a video that circulated on social media of him throttling, or looked like throttling, his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. I mean, that can just destroy any person's business, can't it?
Yo, look at.
Of course,
look
I
at,
mean.
Oh, sorry, Cyril.
Of course, I mean, if you look at it, if a video goes up on social media, it's something on the internet, it stays there, so they can never delete it. So, I mean, yeah, so I think it's all about people being responsible. You've got to be responsible. You know, you've got all kinds of things that just go on social media. People, you know, what you do in public, also what you do in private. I think sometimes you just got to look at what a person's mind is like. You know, I mean, you mentioned Gervonta Davis. If he's doing that to his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend in public, what's he doing to her in private? So, you know, sometimes it just goes down to the people. Like, what kind of people are we dealing with? You know. So I guess.
And let's talk about the stupidity. Let's talk about the stupidity of social media. A couple of years or a few years ago, Devin, you saw Adrian Broner. Was he sitting on the toilet, flushing down $20 bills because he didn't want to have $20 bills in his wallet or whatever it is? I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, look, you got to remember that fighters do tend to come from places that we don't understand. The lives that a lot of these guys have lived to get to where they are, the way that they've been raised, the environments that they've grown up in, you know, it's a lot of the time it's from the gutter to the stars. And sometimes they carry that kind of mentality with them all the way through as they progress in their careers and into adulthood. And it still stays with them. And then there's a lot of the time where, you know, why do people buy expensive watches? Why do people buy flashy cars? Why do people buy big houses? Because a lot of the time, yeah, they can afford it, but they also want to make a statement that this is something I never used to have, something that I always dreamed of having, but now I'm at a point where I can just buy it and then buy another one because I don't like the color anymore. The way that fighters do these kinds of things, they've got to remember that they're way more accessible to the general public now than they've ever been before. And if you're going to stick a video out like that of you wiping your ass with $20 notes and then flushing it, there are going to be people who are your fans going, but I don't have $20 notes. I'd love to be able to do that myself. But the way that some people come across, they just build this aura of arrogance, of flash, and they think that that's what makes them a household name, and what is making Adrian Broner a household name right now is all the wrong reasons. The fact that he's been arrested so many times, the fact that he is doing things outside of his sport. I mean, what could he have been if he had stayed in boxing and actually stayed the course? What do you think he could have turned out to be?
Potentially great fighter. Potentially. Yeah, Hayden, go ahead.
Oh, Carl, I want to ask you a question as well. Obviously, sure. it's you're in a position to obviously comment on this. Is your boxers' personal social media accounts? How do they run them compared to maybe some of the other gyms? Do they compare? You know, what's your comments on that?
So look, I think every fighter should have an Instagram page. I think every fighter should be on Facebook, and I think every fighter should market themselves to a point. In terms of actually being able to sell tickets, I don't think that's the fighter's job. A promoter promotes, you know, a manager manages, a trainer trains, a fighter fights. But it's important to have some sort of profile and be accessible to someone like Hayden Jones, who has an interest in Joe Schmo, who's fighting next week Saturday. So you can follow him on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or Facebook page, whatever it is. So I think it's very important. There have been times over the years where one or two of the fighters have posted inappropriate things, and I'm on the phone and I'm saying, please take that down, and I explain why. And often, as Devin pointed out, that a lot of the guys don't understand. They don't understand that it's offensive, and you just got to kind of rein them in. But by and large, I support social media. I think it's a great platform. And sorry, guys, let's just go back to one of the reasons why we chose this topic was in studio at SABC a couple of weeks ago. I was in studio with a legend of South African boxing, Dital Molifiani, the first South African to be the WBF world champion and former South African junior lightweight champion. And he had a great following. And I asked him, I actually made the point in studio. I said, can you imagine this guy fighting in this day and age? And social media was a mechanism that he could tap into and create even more of a bigger fan base. So that was my reason. So going back to your initial question, and I think it's very important that fighters need to have a platform to publicize what they're doing with their lives, because that's how you interact with people and that's how you create interest. Like, you like Nutella? Well, maybe another fighter eats Nutella when he's not training, and you can have that kind of connection. And I think social media is the closest way to connect with a sports person in this day and age, particularly within boxing.
Right. I have a question for the three of you, where social media and boxing intertwine. So what DAZN and Eddie Hearn have been doing by bringing out YouTuber Logan Paul, KSI, Logan Paul's brother, I forget what his name is, but I'm not part of that kind of generation. What do you think it is doing for the casual fan and the hardcore fan who pays money to watch these fights, but then sees a guy like Logan Paul headlining a show when Devin Haney is on the undercard, an actual world champion? What does that make you feel like?
So if I can answer it first, I think there's two ways of looking at it. One, it promotes the sport. And that's essentially what everyone wants. We want to promote boxing. So I'll give you another example. So you saw Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. Now, there were some people who thought Conor McGregor could win. But to me, it wasn't really about boxing. It was about bringing fans closer to the sport and having an interest in the sport. And it wasn't really a fight. It was more an event. But what did it do? It publicized boxing. That's what everyone wants. That's what we want as hardcore boxing fans. But does it dilute the sport? Yes, it does. So there's two ways of looking at it. Yes, it creates interest, but the actual product of boxing gets diluted.
Logan Paul getting $1 million for a 3-rounder, though?
Yeah, I mean, there's some fighters that are struggling to feed their families and staying in, low-cost housing. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, does it? You got guys who train their ball sack off and they never become champions. So that's why I'm saying it kind of dilutes the sport and it makes you think, well, yeah, people are interested in the sport, but at what level are they interested in?
Guys, we also need to remember one thing. Logan Paul and what's the other guy's name from England that he fought? KSI. These guys are followers than all the sporting networks put together. So the fact that they're getting paid the money, are they actually being underpaid?
I don't know. What do you think, Cyril?
No, I think they bring in the numbers. Look, it's true that it dilutes the sport, but they are bringing in the numbers. It's a catch-22 situation because on the one hand, as you mentioned, there's different ways of looking at it. But they're not as. But you feel it's unfair for a fighter who's gone through amateur level, has fought his ass off to get to the top. But at the same time, you look at what kind of numbers they're generating. For the whole event, the numbers that they're going to bring in. So it's a difficult one.